Israeli settlers have attacked a village in the southeast of Bethlehem. They set fire to Palestinian homes and assaulted residents. It's the second attack on the village in 3 days. Settler violence in the occupied West Bank has increased since the war in Gaza began. Well, this comes as thousands of right-wing Israelis are marching through occupied East Jerusalem, celebrating Israel's occupation of the city in 1967 following the Six-Day War. They are making their way through Palestinian neighborhoods, chanting death to Arabs as well as anti-Islamic slogans. Police forces were dispatched in advance as the settlers regularly assault and harass Palestinians in the Muslim quarter. They have also stormed the headquarters of the agency UNRWA in the neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah a little earlier today. Also earlier this Monday, more than 1,500 far-right Israelis forced their way into the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. The National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir and other Israeli far-right ministers were in that group. Jordan's foreign ministry has strongly condemned the intrusion, saying that it is a deliberate provocation. OK, we have in the studio with us our correspondent Nida Ibrahim. Nida, you are normally covering this story from closer to where things are happening from occupied West Bank. You're here in the studio. So it is a very important day in terms of how controversial it is for the Palestinians. Talk us through what we can expect today.
Well, what's already happening now, Malin, is that Israelis inside the old city of Jerusalem attacking Palestinians, harassing them. In the western part of the city, they are gathering to start their march. And let's set the scene for our audience by showing this map and seeing how the protesters are going to move. They're usually starting at the western part of Jerusalem, where they make their way with their flags, with chanting slogans towards the old city of Jerusalem, but they do that through Damascus Gate. Now, this gate now, we usually see it bustling with people, with Palestinians. Now it's almost empty because many shopkeepers have had to shut down their stores and leave because of the violent nature of the attacks. Now, the march keeps going through the old city, passing through the Muslim quarter, and it ends at the Western Wall, Judaism's holiest site, and it is also in occupied East Jerusalem. Now, what the Israelis want to show from this annual event that has been happening every year since 1968 is that Jerusalem is their capital and it's not divided between the western side and the eastern side. Of course, the international community at large does not recognize Israel's annexation of the eastern part of the city. It's still considered occupied, but for the Trump administration in its first term, it has announced that it's moving the embassy. It already did that, and it recognized Jerusalem as the capital. But for the international world, it remains occupied. This is a day where Palestinians in occupied East Jerusalem are reminded that they are still suffering and lingering under occupation. They're still telling the world that there would be no state without Jerusalem as their capital. So for Palestinians, this is a day that reminds them of occupation. For Israelis, it's a day that they see as victory. As you said there, Malin, they talk about chanting slogans anti-Arabs, anti-Muslims, anti-Palestinians, already happening now as we speak. They're dancing, as you can see now. And if I can move in closer, this is the Damascus Gate. This is basically the heart of the old city in occupied East Jerusalem. And usually what happens here is that if they see any Palestinian, they would attack them. They would chant slogans. We've seen them already spitting on Palestinians passing by. This event is not only funded by settler organizations, but it receives funding from the Jerusalem municipality itself. So that gives you an idea about the sense of impunity they feel. There are around 3,000 police officers basically providing protection for these settlers as they storm through occupied East Jerusalem, harassing and intimidating Palestinians.
Nida, I also want to ask you about the ultra-Israeli nationalists that have stormed the headquarters of UNRWA. I mentioned that just a little earlier. I was speaking to the former head of UNRWA, Chris Gunness. Why is this organization so contentious for the Israelis?
Well, it's a reminder of what the Israelis, as Palestinians would tell you, do not want the world to remember, which is that Palestinians have been forcibly kicked out and displaced from their homes in two occasions, in 1948, when the State of Israel was created, and in 1967, which is the event that Israelis are celebrating right now, which has led hundreds of thousands of Palestinians to be displaced. And UNRWA was established at the time to take care of the Palestinian refugees until a solution is reached. Of course, what happened over the years is not only they have been further and further away, Palestinians, from reaching that dream and that right to return to their lands, but there have also been steps to undermine UNRWA, and we've seen a legislation by the Israeli Knesset to ban UNRWA and its operations in Jerusalem. We've seen staffers from the UN leaving the premise, the entity, and now we've seen Israelis storming UNRWA. It's a reminder also to Palestinians that they have no protection, that there are really no mechanisms left to take care of them and their issue. And as you see now in these scenes, still settlers are dancing, celebrating, while Palestinians in the very same city are still suffering. Palestinians in occupied East Jerusalem do not have a citizenship. They have what Israel calls a permanent residency, meaning that Israel can provoke them from that right, can pull that residency anytime it deems appropriate. And this is seen by Palestinians as a way to ensure that more Israelis live in occupied East Jerusalem than Palestinians are. They feel that the efforts to push them out of their homes are still continuous.
Thank you so much for your reporting, Nida Ibrahim, there for us.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.